One of the most fun aspects about Marvel Rivals is that there's always a way to play better, be it getting better at aim by clicking circles for hours, learning how to micromanage resources and cooldowns, or something as grueling as learning a combo for hours.
Ollie asked me, hey, can we play some games of Marvel Rivals? I'm like, yeah, sure, after I learn this combo. I then sat there for 4 hours with Ollie because I couldn't do the combo and I literally refused to stop until I did it.
Out of all of them, probably the easiest way to improve is by simply having more knowledge on how your character works. And no matter how much you think you know about your character, there's always going to be something you don't know. This happened to me with Jeff's dive. From a simple point of view, we can already tell why Jeff being underground is incredibly beneficial for him. Besides just being smaller, he can move much faster than his normal speed, regenerate his own health, climb completely vertical walls, and he gets the property of being unstoppable, which means that he doesn't have to deal with, well, half of the cast. You might think this means Jeff has a paramechanic built into his kit, however, if you simply try to use it in reaction, you'll quickly run into this scenario. So, what happened there? Well, every time we execute Jeff's dive from the ground, Jeff would do this little hop, and until he's done doing this, you're temporarily locked out of both shooting and your buffs. Notice how I said it's only there when we execute it from the ground, as this hop doesn't exist if we're airborne. This means that if we wanted to go faster, we can jump and immediately fall into the ground. However, this is not the limit of how fast we can go. You see, the reason why jumping works is because Jeff gets rapidly accelerated towards the ground. The jump itself gives us the airborne status, but it comes to the cost of also giving us vertical momentum, which hinders the downward speed we get. This means that if we found a way to start our dive from a very short distance from the floor, we can use the acceleration Jeff gets from the dive to enter the buff state virtually instantly. And believe it or not, we can put this into practice. Beautiful, isn't it? This is the instant dive. The way we do it is by moving Jeff to the proper terrain. A standable slope, an elevated surface, or a small fall will all work. The result of using any of this is an almost instant dive, and even though it might be very situational, when used correctly, you can go insanely fast. The speed is more noticeable when you're trying to climb walls, as there is a delay after we get off one that prevents us from climbing again. And if we get off before a small slope, jump, instant dive, and climb again, we won't suffer from this. However, this isn't the only way we can utilize the high speeds we get from the dive to our advantage, as we can also use this to rapidly get to the ground when on the high ground. To do this, the unfamiliar Jeff players will hold the dive button. However, the problem with this is that you're fully inactionable while in this state, but you can actually circumvent this. This can be achieved by having the hold to dive setting turned on and by tapping our dive high up in the air. This will cause the downward speed we gain from the dive to add to our normal falling speed. The speed we get from this is so incredible in fact that you can outright beat all jump pads, making it a good mix-up tool when being chased. Fine, I'll talk about it. Remember how I said you can only do an instant dive by being on the correct ground? Well, I actually did a little thing there called lying. If you want to instant dive, you can actually just tap jump and dive at the same time. And yes, this is actually instant. But it's not as easy as it seems. First of all, the timing for it is insanely brutal, as getting it to consistently work is an actual hassle. The only times I've ever found this to properly work is with higher ping, but at that point, the time save doesn't really matter. And that's because the server actually disagrees on you being on the ground until the MS you're delayed by catches up. So what I'm saying is, these are actual instant dives, and this is a mental disorder. Now that we've talked about entering the dive, let's talk about actually being in it. We've already talked about the buffs this move gives, but we haven't talked about how this move interacts with one of Jeff's most important abilities, the bubble. The combo of these two is probably one of the most important things for Jeff's survivability. If you didn't know, the speed boost of the bubble is actually as strong as the speed Jeff gets from the dive. And yes, it does tag. Not only does this make you insanely tiny and nimble, allowing you to break ankles without much effort, but it will also heal you an insane amount, allowing you to easily escape from non-burst damage characters even if they're actively shooting at you. And since the bubble is actually lagless, as in it doesn't cause any of your moves to be delayed, you can easily add add one into the mix as you go into your dive, meaning that bubbling and diving is a combo that allows you to engage, disengage, and have overall sustain. And since not only do you get to keep 3, but the cooldown is almost on par with how long it lasts, there's no reason not to always be bubbling and diving. There's also one more state of being inside of the dive that you should know, and that's when Jeff is in his ult form. When Jeff has hidden players with his ult, he still gets all his buffs, while also getting 3 major debuffs. This being, he can't really get out of his diving state until he gets rid of the players, your hitbox is now bigger, and once you decided to wall ride, you'll be forced to consistently wall ride. Hi, it's me, Editor Ollie. I recorded this part on season 5.5 and was going to showcase the fact that you can actually unstick from walls by spitting allies during wall ride. And although this might still be useful as it lets you keep all your momentum while spitting your allies, while also making it harder to not get stunned during your spit animation, starting from season 6, Jeff can actually jump off the wall during his ult without said trick. This is very exciting as unsticking from walls during Jeff's ult still keeps you in his diving state, letting you not only do things like wall regrabs, but it also helps you get some style points to spit people out. Also, you being forced to consistently wall ride, regardless of your input, was fixed as well, as it was a bug that should have never been in the game. Regardless of this, the bug where your hitbox is now actually bigger still exists. So I'll leave you with 2025 Ollie to explain all that. This bug makes it so that now your hitbox matches the size of a character you recently grabbed, making it really easy for you to get hit by moves that shouldn't be hitting you. This will occur regardless of the grab character being an ally or an enemy. It also expands your collision size, so if you grab a tall character, there will be some holes that you could walk through before that you now actually can. It's clear that this shouldn't be in the game either, but this bug has been a thing for months now, so instead of praying to Gwangwon for it getting fixed, I recommend just being more careful when grabbing big characters like Root, Venom, etc. Besides that, there are still some texts that I couldn't properly fit in the video, so I decided to show these at the end while I thank my 3 members, Caleb, Pixel, and 123 Bye Bye. This channel isn't monetized yet, so I appreciate the help and encouragement to keep posting. Also, this video was released on my birthday, and if you're watching this when it came out, I'll be live playing with my friends to celebrate. But for now, I am out.